Welcome to Widowcast Podcast, where you learn how to find the strength to get through your journey and the skills to coach other widows. This is not your average grief group. This is your journey group. It just may show you the way to make something amazing come out of the emotional pain and trauma of widowhood. I'm your host, Joann Philomena. I'm the best-selling author of Widowed and Widow Coach, and I'm a professional certified life coach. Let the healing and your personal journey begin. Hello, my friends. Welcome back. Welcome back. Before I get rolling on this episode, I want to take a minute to share with you all about the Widow Coaching Center because I'm so excited for this. I am so excited that we actually have members in the Widow Coaching Center, and I've been getting feedback from them. They are loving this, learning so much from it. So if you haven't been following and listening, you may not know what the Widow Coaching Center is. Is this different from my Widow Coach certification program, where I teach widows life coaching skills to work with other widows? The Widow Coaching Center is really more about membership for individual widows, especially those of you who you are not ready to jump in and build a career as a widow coach or anything like that. I hear from so many of you that say, you know what, I just need coaching. I need a widow coach, or I need something to help me begin to get a grip on my life again. And so that's what I designed the Widow Coaching Center for. When you join the Widow Coaching Center, you are going to benefit from so much in there. Here's what's going to happen for you. Okay, you're going to get clear insight on your journey as a widow, first of all. That's like the first step. Let's get really clear on that and clear on what you want for yourself, because you're now feeling, many of you, especially if you're a newer widow, you feel like you're just floundering. You're still in that fog. You have no idea of what is ahead of you. But what is ahead of you can be whatever it is you want to make it. And you're going to get some insight on that. You will also experience connection and community with the other members in our special group, right? All the members of the Widow Coaching Center have a special group where they can communicate with each other. I communicate with you in there. But on the site itself, you're going to learn how to feel better right now. I can teach you how to do that. Is that mind-blowing? When you feel like you are in the depths of despair again, you can allow that feeling. I'm not telling you to not allow your grief. I am not saying that. We need to allow our grief. And for all of us, it can feel very unique and different to us. But there are times, too, where you feel like I have to pull it together, or I just want to feel better, and you can do that. I will teach you how to feel better right away. You're going to discover how to recover from the emotional holes left in your soul after losing your spouse. I teach you how to gain confidence in your future, how to move past your financial fears and get really clear about money. Right? I hear from widows saying, I feel like I can't finish anything. I can't accomplish anything. I try to start things and I can't finish them. You're going to discover why focusing on and completing a task feels impossible. And we're going to talk about how to get it done. Right? We're going to talk about how to make decisions with confidence, even with enthusiasm, you guys. I am so excited to offer this membership, the membership site and the group membership. It is going to be a lot of learning. It's your opportunity to really come through this and become empowered as a widow, right? You're going to become empowered in your own life. You're going to rediscover who you are now. And you're going to take all this pain and all this loss, and you can turn it into a purpose that has meaning in your life. I want every widow out there to know she can again begin to experience life to the fullest again. That's what's in my heart. I just want to empower every widow out there to begin rebuilding her life again. And that's what the Widow Coaching Center is all about. So, before I jump into this podcast today, you can go check that out. You can go look at widowcoachingcenter.com. Very easy link to remember, widowcoachingcenter.com. Go take a look at it and consider joining us. Okay, and what I'm going to talk about today, starting out today, is that 5-letter word that throws so many of us, and that is the word widow. I can still clearly remember the first time I needed to check my marital status on a government form after Jim had passed away. And I stood looking at the form, and, it said married, it said single, it said all these things, and then it said widowed. And it was daunting for me the first time I had to check that box that said widowed. Right? It was really hard. I remember standing there. It felt like I stood there forever looking at it before I could do it. It was probably just a matter of seconds, you guys, but it really felt like an eternity for me to check the box that said widowed. Why do we have such resistance for that? Right? And here's the thing. It kind of all came back to me at one point because I was looking at comments on the ad that I have for the Widow Coaching Center. And in the comments, I noticed somebody commented and said, for some reason, I hate the word widow. I wish there was a word that better described losing my husband. And the replies sounded like this. I hate it too. That word means sad, not capable, broken, needy, someone that needs to be taken care of, and oh, how we all pity her now. And she said, these words are not me. And I feel it. I feel the fierceness behind that, saying, this is what this word sounds like to me, and that's not me. I don't want to be sad or not capable or broken or needy, right? I don't want to identify with that. And other people mentioned and said, yeah, it cuts like a knife. And somebody else came along and said, marital status, single, doesn't feel or sound right either. She said we need a separate category like suddenly single, which I really loved that. So yeah, there are so many people commenting on that, saying it's a horrible word. It's a horrible word. And saying things like, I'm not a widow, my husband's in heaven. That's what I want to say. So I thought this was really interesting because there's a lot of emotional, visceral reactions to the word widow. And as I said, I can remember early days when it was so hard for me to even check the box on the form for that, right? It was really tough. But then looking at this in hindsight, and I thought, this is really interesting because now I better understand some of the differences. I better understand that it was hard for me at first because of everything I made that word mean. Right? So what do we make the word widowed mean? What do we make widow mean? If you look up the definition for widow, it simply says a woman who has lost her spouse by death and has not remarried, which is kind of like suddenly single. Somebody else said have it be suddenly single. But notice that the definition of widow says nothing about being sad, being broken, being pitiful, none of those things. It simply means a woman who has lost her spouse by death and has not yet remarried. So, when we take that simple definition for the word widow and understand that it means just that, right? You're a woman and you've lost your husband by death. And I have come around to looking at the word widow and knowing that it means a couple things to me, very different than it did initially. It means that I was once married to someone who loved me, and I loved that person. Right? I had a marriage. I was loved, and I loved him, and he died. And it really means nothing more than that. But it's very interesting to explore what all of us, all these things that we attach to that word and things that society around us may attach to that word. I bring this up because I really feel in my heart the part of my mission. You guys, I feel like I have such a mission in the world, and we all do as widows. So many widows I talk to feel like they want to take all their pain and their loss and make it mean something in the world. One of the things I want to do is really change how society thinks of widows, and I want to change how widows think of widows. And I'm beginning to make my mark out there with the help of all of you. We are beginning to make our mark. How do I know this? Because Hollywood has taken notice. Thank goodness. At first, I was a little taken back by that. There's a movie out called Widow. I find it a little disturbing because now it used to be you could search widowed or widow and find good resources and help. And now when you search widow, all you find are things about the movie and the movie listings. And there's a new TV show that's going to be premiering soon about widows. But when I looked at that and went, oh my gosh, now widows can't even find help because when they search, all they're going to find are the movie and TV series and not anything concrete. But I also realized, oh my goodness, Hollywood has set up and taken notice after 4 years of me putting it out there all over everything, putting out the first podcast for widows, putting out Facebook ads for widows, really going out and talking about it. And now Hollywood is talking about it. And I pray they do an excellent job on sharing what this is with the world. But for now, let's take a look at what it means to us, that word. And as I said, there was so much that I read in there about it means to be sad and not capable, broken, needy, someone that needs to be taken care of, someone to be pitied. And I think that was also part of the sentiment about, I had talked about, somebody had posted in my Facebook group about really hating it when she would hear people say, welcome to the club nobody wants to be a member of. And she was like, this is not a club. I think it was the same kind of rebellion as it is against the very word widow, right? No one wants to be a part of that club if the word means sad, not capable, broken, needy, someone that needs to be taken care of, someone to be pitied. How many of us, when we became widowed, thought that that's what it meant for us? Did it mean that for you? Did it mean that you were now pitiful and that you were broken and you were just emotionally devastated? If you're associating all that with the term widow, I can understand the pushback on just even hearing the word widow. But if you are feeling an emotional charge on the word widow, sit down and write out all your thoughts about it. Take a look at what is your brain telling you about this word. Because that's where all the emotional charge is coming from. And once you see exactly what your mind tells you about being a widow, Now you can understand how you're feeling about it, because what our brain tells us is what also creates our feelings. If you've been listening to me for a while, you know exactly what I'm talking about. All of our emotions come from the sentences that our brain plays. And the sentences that our brain plays, we can either focus on and own, or we can decide we're going to think differently. That is the most empowering thing I have ever learned in my life. You get to pick and choose what you are going to focus on in your brain. So if I were to focus on widowed means not capable and to be pitied, I need someone to take care of me, then I would not be out there recreating my life. I would not be able to accomplish anything, because this is what my brain is telling me I am now. Instead, I choose to believe that as a widow, I can be empowered. I can be empowered to reinvent myself. I can be empowered to reinvent my life into something amazing. And I believe every one of you can be empowered to do that. I don't just believe it. I'm like creating it in the world. This is what I've been doing for over 3 years now, is empowering other widows to reinvent themselves and reinvent their life. So, consider the definition of widow. It means that you were married, you had a husband, and now he's dead. Consider my definition of widow. It means that you were loved and you loved him, and he has passed away. It's pure and simple. It's interesting that society can look at the word widow and have all kinds of connotations. I think society often looks at widows as being needy, right? Which is a shame, because I don't want anyone to look at me and think I'm needy or to be pitied. I want society to look at me and go, wow, look at what she's done. Look at how she's grown. Look at what she's creating in the world. So I think that going through the pain and tragedy of loss, which it is, and you know we all go into a state of shock. It's very hard to come through. But it is also the opportunity to take all of that trauma and create personal growth for yourself. You've been presented almost with an opportunity to get back in touch with who it is you really are at the core of your being. I hear from widows often saying, I just don't know who I am now. So what do I do now? I don't even know who I am anymore. And my first words are, you need to get in touch with who you really are. And that sounds like it's so glib and like, oh, I should just be able to figure out who I really am. No, this is a journey. This is a journey of getting back in touch with who you are and what it is you love. My gosh, I think I spoke in early podcasts about this when I talked about my first year as a widow and the things that helped me. And one of the things I did to get back in touch with myself was I thought back to when I was a little kid, what did I love? And I remembered that I loved doing puzzles. I was very good at puzzles as a little kid, right? And I actually went out to a big box store, and they had a package of like 10 different jigsaw puzzles. Lots of little pieces. These were not little kid puzzles. These were grown-up puzzles. There were 10 puzzles in the box. And I brought that home and I began doing puzzles. Like I just cleared off my dining room table. And, you know, we have the luxury of doing this because now it's just us and we can create our space. And I began putting together a puzzle one at a time. And I would have a puzzle in progress on that table, like at all times. And sometimes I would just walk through the dining room and think, oh, and I would sit down and I would add a few more pieces to the puzzle. It was like I was putting myself back together again, you guys. With each piece, I fit back into that puzzle because it was finding something that I had not done in years because life just kind of overtakes us, right? Especially like you get married, you have kids, you're raising your children, you're trying to buy your first house, you're trying to accumulate all these things and accomplish so much. And that's where we really lose ourselves. To get back to who we are and rediscover us, we have to get back to the very essence of our being. And I think that's what I began doing just through doing the puzzles, doing things I liked to do as a kid, and then exploring what is it that I like? What is it I compromised on when I married someone else, right? Because marriage is always a compromise. Being married to someone else meant that I could only blare rock and roll music in my kitchen when he wasn't around. Otherwise, I would just drive him out of the house, right? And that's one of the things that I began doing again. I got my I put my radio back in the kitchen, but then I bought an Amazon Echo because she could play music for me. As a matter of fact, my Echo Show would even do the lyrics. When it plays songs, it's got a screen on it, so it's almost like having karaoke. And so I play loud music now when I'm cleaning in the kitchen, when I'm cooking. I am always dancing and singing with music, which really got me back in touch with something that is so vital in the core of my being. I have always been someone to sing and dance from the time I was little. And it put me back in touch with that. So getting back in touch with who you are is so important. And when you begin to reinvent yourself as you, the word widow doesn't sting anymore because you're like, yeah, okay, I'm a widow. No big deal. It doesn't define me. The word does not define who you are. You define the word. And you need to decide how you want to define the word widow. What are you presenting to yourself and to the world? And I define the word widow as becoming empowered to be the woman you were always meant to be. So you step forward with that. You begin each day with gratitude. And that may sound strange for you at first. Like, how can I be grateful? Lost my husband. But, gratitude was one of the first things I found again, because when Jim died, and it was such a shock and so sudden for me, and I know I've talked about this before ad nauseum. Some of you may be tired of hearing about it, but I really went through a thought process in the 48 hours after he died that led me to realize that I wanted to live my next year as if it were the last year of my life. I knew that's what I was doing, because Jim died at the end of 2014, and I realized, gosh, he didn't know that was the last year he had to live. And I realized, I don't know, this isn't the last year I have to live. And I began to feel gratitude for even just still being on this planet. Like every morning I would wake up, I would see the sun coming in my window. I would sit straight up in my bed and I would say, thank you, thank you, thank you for another day on this planet. Just as simple as that. It was like 1 second, right? But every morning I began saying, thank you, thank you, thank you for another day on this planet. And it put me in a state of gratitude before I even got out of bed. And you can do that too. And it doesn't matter who you're thanking, whether you think of it as thanking God or thanking the universe. You can begin your day by just being grateful to still be alive and have a chance to explore this planet and explore your own soul. because self-knowledge is probably the most important knowledge we can gain in our lifetime. Learning about us, learning about ourselves. So, take a minute, analyze how it is you're thinking about the word widow, and choose to think differently about that word. And come check out the Widow Coaching Center. If you want more of this, if you want to be able to reinvent your life, come join the Widow Coaching Center. Start going through. There are tons of videos, tons of modules that you can learn from that will step you through my process. You will connect with us all on the secret Facebook group that is exclusively for members of the Widow Coaching Center. I will be doing a coaching call once a month. It is your opportunity to get coached by me. You can't even hire me as a one-on-one coach anymore. There are lots of certified widow coaches out there. I know because I've trained them. And I encourage everybody to work with a widow coach, a certified widow coach, because coaching, I believe in 100%. It's everything. It's somebody who can give you an outside perspective that will change everything for you. I believe so much in coaching and in what I do that I also hire coaches. I hire coaches to coach me because sometimes when I'm dealing with an issue, I know I can't get that outside perspective. It's all in my mind and it's a jumble. And if I go to my coach and say, this is something that I'm struggling with, I don't feel good about, she can listen to me and she can tell me exactly what she sees going on in my mind. She's like having a big blank piece of glass that I can write the contents of my mind onto. And then I can clearly see exactly what my brain is telling me. It makes such a difference, you guys. I know this may sound like gobbledygook, but trust me, this makes all the difference. So, whether or not you start working one-on-one with a widow coach, doesn't matter. You can start in the Widow Coaching Center and start learning about yourself. As I said, you get coached by me. I do a group call once a month to coach people on the call, answer any questions about the materials in there. What it's going to do is it is going to help you reinvent who you are, to get in touch with who you are, and begin to reinvent your life, to start to rebuild a future for yourself. It is so critical. And let's all come together and let's redefine what it is to be widowed. So go check out widowcoachingcenter.com. If you want to reach out to me, you can email me at Joann, Joann, at JoannTheLifeCoach.com. That's my email address, Joann at JoannTheLifeCoach.com. And I will be talking to you guys again soon. Get out there, find some joy in your life, and greet your day in gratitude. Bye, guys.